Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Explosive Hits Hexbug Battlebots. I'm sorry it's premiering late, I had a busy day. I started filming the fights for the round of 16. There will not be any fights shown today. Instead, I will be describing what happened in the fights that were lost. This way you can still keep track of the season and know how certain bots performed in their missing fights. So, here is the fight card. The first fight is Tombstone 2 versus Black Devil. Tombstone 2 went with the red blade for this fight. They were landing good hits on Black Devil to start, though they didn't take any pieces off. Then Black Devil pinned Tombstone 2 against the screws, and when they got free, Tombstone 2's blade wasn't spinning, and it never spun up again. At some point, Black Devil got the back pieces off Tombstone 2, but I don't remember when. At the halfway point of the match, Tombstone 2 decided to use its back to push Black Devil, and it actually worked. They pinned Black Devil 2 or 3 times by doing this, though they didn't do anything else besides this. They didn't get Black Devil near any arena hazards or anything, they just pinned him, and the pushing match was still pretty even for the rest of the fight. Not to mention, Black Devil had its spinner active for the whole fight, occasionally landing shots to Tombstone 2, which also made its performance look better in the eyes of the judges. Black Devil ended up winning a unanimous decision. Tombstone 2 didn't get lucky this time, and now they sit at a pretty unimpressive 1-1. The next fight is Vertico versus Death Twister. This was actually a pretty boring fight. Death Twister's bottom blade didn't do anything to Vertico, and the top blade only created some very small weapon-to-weapon hits. Both bots lost their top pieces quickly, and at one point Vertico got another piece off of Death Twister. The fight went the distance. I scored it 6-5 for Death Twister, and judges 2 and 4 scored it 7-4, both for Vertico. So, Vertico won the fight by split decision, meaning neither of their wins was super impressive this year, but still, it's hard not to get in the tournament when you have 2 wins. Alright, the next fight was Shatter versus Railgun Max. There isn't a whole lot to talk about here. It was a back and forth fight with both bots landing shots with their weapons. Interestingly, Railgun Max was the one getting pushed around despite using their tank drive because their weapon got lifted up by Shatter's front forks. Eventually, Railgun Max lost a thread after Shatter rammed its forks into it. Then the same thing happened with the other thread. Railgun Max got instantly KO'd when this happened and became 0-2, and Shatter moved on to 2-0. Both of their wins involved getting threads off their opponents, so don't expect them to face another tank drive bot next. For the sub-main event, we had Gamma 9 versus Hurricane. Gamma 9 had an anti-horizontal configuration, and it actually helped them a lot. Not because it protected them from damage, but because it became easier for them to get under Hurricane. At first, Hurricane was clearly winning. They were landing several huge shots to Gamma 9, sending them flying around the arena. Rarely, Gamma 9 would get under Hurricane and flip, but they couldn't get Hurricane over, even when they flipped them against the wall. Hurricane's blades slowed down as the fight went on, and they started having to retreat to get their spinner to a good speed. It was looking like they were going to win. There was 20 seconds to go, when all in a split second, they hit Gamma 9, the blade stopped on the flipper, and Gamma 9 flipped Hurricane. And this time, Hurricane landed upside down. Gamma 9 had no intention to free it after that, and Hurricane was counted out. This was supposed to be Hurricane's year to prove that it could do good without having to worry about pieces, and unfortunately, they suffered 2 unlucky losses and aren't looking like they're going to make the tournament. Okay, the next fight was Witch Doctor versus Terabyte. Driver 2 came up with the first sentence of the replay of this fight, and it pretty much sums it up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you don't allow an open bar in the pits. For some reason, Witch Doctor didn't drive very well in this fight. No joke, they actually hit the wall more than Terabyte. They lost 2 front pieces by ramming into the wall. Terabyte took advantage of this by getting up to speed, but they didn't hit hard at all. Something's been wrong with their weapon this season. Eventually, Witch Doctor managed to get Terabyte stuck on the screws, though for some reason they rammed into Terabyte with their back multiple times after doing this. The top piece came off, but they rammed again, hauled over the top piece and got stuck. Both bots were counted out and the fight went to the judges. Witch Doctor ended up winning a unanimous decision. Every scorecard was the same. Witch Doctor may have lost all their pieces, but Terabyte didn't cause any of that, so Terabyte only won damage by 3-2. Witch Doctor won control and aggression 2-1. Control probably went to them because they got Terabyte stuck, and aggression went to them because they kept hitting Terabyte after they got stuck. Sure, they weren't going after Terabyte much before they got stuck, but Terabyte wasn't really being aggressive either. They were hanging back to get their weapon spun up. So, Terabyte goes 0-2, and Witch Doctor goes to 2-0. Neither bot had a really impressive performance this year. After that, there was Hammerhead versus Black Dragon. In the beginning, Hammerhead lost a lot of pieces. The front wedge came off after Black Dragon got under their wedge, and both side pieces came off as well. Black Dragon still had the drive issue though, so they would always curve while driving. Hammerhead took advantage of this by finding a lot of opportunities to get to their side or back and land hammer shots. They tried getting underneath Black Dragon again, using their back wedge. At first it didn't work, and Black Dragon hit them with their spinner, though the wedge didn't come off. Eventually they did get under Black Dragon's wedge and managed to bend a piece of it pretty badly. The decision ended up being much closer than I thought it would be. It was unanimous, but the scoring really could have gone either way. Damage went 4-1 in favor of Black Dragon. It was close to going 5-0, but two factors prevented that. Hammerhead's side pieces didn't come off because of Black Dragon's weapon. They just rolled over Black Dragon and they happened to fall off. And Hammerhead bent Black Dragon's wedge, which counted as damage for Hammerhead. And then Hammerhead won aggression by 2-1 and control by 3-0. At least that's how Judge 2 and I saw it. Judge 4 gave Black Dragon 3-2 damage and Hammerhead 2-1 control. But Hammerhead won the fight regardless. And now for the main event, SawBlaze versus Monstrosity. This fight was a complete beatdown. Monstrosity was sending SawBlaze flying for the whole match. They lost 5 out of 6 pieces within 3 seconds, and the 6th one was lost around the halfway mark. SawBlaze never did anything in this fight besides run into Monstrosity and get thrown around by them. Here is a gif of the biggest hit of that fight that managed to get saved. This is the biggest hit I have ever seen in explosive hits, maybe even the biggest hit of all time. Though I remember once Monstrosity sent Tombstone a few inches in the air off camera. That might have been bigger. SawBlaze made it the distance, but it was no contest at that point. Monstrosity won a unanimous decision, advanced to 2-0, and became the bot with the best performance of the year so far. And that concludes this episode. I hope you found it somewhat enjoyable. Next week, you will see the fights, and they'll be in high quality and 60 frames per second. Not the low quality version you get from downloading a video off YouTube. Alright, that's the end. Goodbye.